Welcome in, welcome in. Welcome back to Do It for the Story. I'm Morgan.
I'm Stacey.
And it
Cheers.
is, yes, Saturday
Yeah,
afternoon.
we're back to a Saturday record.
We had to change it up because we're going to, let's do a little quick update on life.
Yeah.
Because we haven't done that in a minute.
No.
Tonight, we're going to the Annapolis Summer Garden Theater, which is darling. And I have been dying to go since I moved. I've never been either. I've been dying to go since I moved here in 2017. And guess who else has never been? Joe Donahue. I said, you stop it. I know.
For those not watching, I just did a shock
Yes.
face
My
because
husband
JD
has been here since he was 2 years old.
Yeah, lifelong
He was
Annapolis.
in and out during his
I don't
Navy
even know how to
time.
say it, Annapolis.
Yeah. Annapolitan is what they say.
Annapolitan.
But yeah, I was like, are you serious? So, Stacey and I decided we were going, and we got like tickets for mom and dad. I think it was for mom's birthday or something. And
I'm pumped.
yeah, we got tickets for everybody. So we're all going, and it'll be super fun. And it's going to be a musical. Big Fish is the show. It's supposed to be really good. I can't believe we've never seen it. And Joe was like, I've seen it a bunch of times.
I love a musical, so say less.
Say less. So
I'm
we're
there.
doing that tonight. So fam will be in. So we're excited about that. So we had to change it up to Saturday morning record because tomorrow we're going to be going out on the boat.
Tomorrow's a boat day.
Taking
Get
Water Girl out. Mom and Dad
Water Girl.
they're
And
first ride.
actually, this is just, and no one has heard this yet, but this past week we were getting Water Girl serviced, just like getting engine checked and bottom painted. And we got the boat back last night, and Cease was telling a friend of ours, like, yeah, because it's bottom painted and some tweaks I did to the engine, it's even faster now. Like,
oh, nice.
and I said, oh my gosh, does that mean we're almost ready for the naming ceremony? And she was like, yeah, I got to order decals and stuff.
Nuh-uh. It's official. Oh my God, celebration.
We're officially going to name her Water
Okay,
Girl.
we need to do another cheers. Water Girl, this one's for you, baby.
But there'll be content. There'll be...
And you know what I'm going to say right now? We don't need to necessarily jump immediately into the topic for today, but Water Girl's going to be a lifelong friend, and I'm excited about it. This is your inaugural episode. This is dedicated to you, Water Girl.
Yeah, this is to Water Girl. This is to many memories. And so it stuck. Everybody liked it. And, we tried it out, but literally other friends of ours, especially the guys, they were like, no, I like it. It's fun.
Yeah,
I like Water Girl.
I seriously think it hits for everybody because for us, we're like, yeah, we're Water Girls. The guys, I've told everyone it's gender neutral, but then I feel like it's also cute.
It's fun.
The guys are like, it's our girl. She's our boat.
It was delayed as far as getting it fixed because whatever, shit happens.
Yeah.
And I was hoping it would be ready because I knew mom and dad were coming and I wanted to take them out. And so I was like, even Joe was dying this week. I was like, where the hell is Water Girl? Like, I just want Water Girl back.
You sound like Angel.
I was like, give me Water. I was intentionally being like a little brat.
Cute.
But yeah, so that's big. So stay tuned. But Water Girl, we'll probably get a decal on her here.
Yeah. So you've listened to now, when this episode's coming out, you've listened to the social media episodes. So I'm going to say, bear with us, but we will get more Water Girl content out there when we can. We're not great at the socials. And you will let us
know. Do you want to see, what do you want to see?
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be helpful. Yeah. Do you want to see behind the scenes? Do you want to see us? I used to be good at social media when I was single because it was also like what I used kind of as a dating mechanism.
Yeah.
You're out there. You got time.
Yeah.
What do you want to see? Do you want to see us talking to the camera about funny happenings, content?
Yeah, and also, I guess, what other content do you want to hear? Because,
what do you want? Do you want us to do an OnlyFans?
I make content topics. I'm dead. No, but I mean, just yes, to Stacey's point. Like, do you want to see behind the scenes of recording and like prep combos? Do you want to see, which I don't know if we're going to share that anyway.
Living our lives.
But yeah, do you want to see us living our lives? Do you care? Knowing that we are limited in time, like pick your ideal, what you'd love to see. Do you want to see Stacey cooking? Do you want to see us fishing?
Joe does all the cooking.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
I can cook. I'm good at it. But anyway, it's a whole other topic. But yeah, no, Cease handles the kitchen.
Same.
If you want to eat more than snacks, you got to cook here.
Anyway,
but yeah, so Water Girl's happening. We're dwindling down. Air is a little bit crisp. It's a little chillier this week, summer wise. So we're getting that transitional time of year. We were just talking before that everybody can feel it. Even in my yoga class this morning, the instructor, she had a beautiful intention setting and was talking about this book. I can't remember that they're reading in like this yoga club at my studio, and just talking about that year of this time of year, change everything.
The change is coming.
Even I said to Morgan, I don't have kids in school, but East Coast post Labor Day, you start to feel a little tension in those work meetings. People are like, nothing to look forward to. Ugh, summer's over. Kids, routine. Energy is, contagious.
It's funny, though. I will say, though, the moms are pretty excited about this time of year.
Excited, but I think I would. Well, actually,
and I'm not personally excited. If I'm being honest.
Well, they're excited.
I get
Angel. Yeah, around. You get the kids to go back to school, but also
that's
it's
why they're excited.
The transition. So it's
the transition's hard.
It's
bumpy.
It's a
bit of both.
Yeah, that's what the teacher was saying. Like, just getting different change of routines and change of the weather, and
totally.
All the things, but yeah, otherwise all is good. I had my first colonoscopy.
I'm dead.
Yeah, you guys didn't hear when we were talking about how I was in Eleuthera, the Bahamas.
Yes, I forgot you didn't.
Earlier this summer, it was beautiful. It's great, and it's nothing about Eleuthera because it's just coincidental that it happened. I contracted E. coli on that trip, but I found out, like, I started feeling sick the literal day I got back. Thank God. Because that's another story. It took a long time to get home airport wise. Thank God I was not sick during the travel.
Terrible.
But so a couple strands of E. coli. I haven't been really eating normal, You know what they say in Devil Wears Prada? I'm one stomach flu away from my goal weight.
That happened to you.
That's the only thing positive I could say about it. I was like, woohoo, toned and tight. I'm kidding. But yeah, so that still pending results, but it was great. Definitely.
But so you had to get the colonoscopy.
I had to get a colon. Well, my doctor, who was fantastic, he said, technically, because I had to do the stool sample test, which is a really humbling experience and not my first one. If you know, you know. And I also got tested for H. pylori, which is a breath test. And he was like, from those, basically, he's like, we found the cause based on the symptoms. It's E. coli. He goes, technically, you don't have to do the colonoscopy, but I recommend. He actually didn't say I recommend. He said, but your insurance would be able to cover it. Like, we have a reason for you, and we have a family history. Our aunt, my godmom, passed away from colon cancer when she was 57, when we were in high school. And so with colon cancer, it's just good for everybody to know because it's very prevalent too, not to put a sad moment in it. With much people in 30s, 40s are seeing an increase in colon cancer. And he said that if there's someone in your family that had it, you could do 10 years younger, subtract 10 years from when they were first diagnosed. So it would have been, let's call it, she was, let's say 54 or something when she would have died. So then it would have been like 44, 43. And he goes, now, because I'm 37, he's like, technically when insurance then will start to cover it, you'll still be within that window. But again, that's just insurance saying you can get colon cancer much younger, right? So he didn't say those words, you can get colon cancer, because he's not going to scare me. But he just said, it's a good practice. You have the option to. And I said, I'm all about proactive. I was very appreciative. It was a doctor being proactive. And that said to me, like, we have an opportunity here to get a better check on your health. So I had the colonoscopy. You heard in my episode about the egg retrieval. People are going to think of a problem. But they put you under. So I was like, I knew I was going to have a nice little nap that day. The prep wasn't that bad to me. For me personally, I'd already been like shitting my brains out. Sorry, TMI, for 6 weeks. So I was like, there's not a lot going on. So the prep didn't taste bad. I think it's new from what it was.
Are you feeling better now?
I am. I'm feeling much better. I'm feeling much better.
So terrible.
I'm still not all the way there yet. I'm still being cautious. I'm not like going out and having sushi or anything.
Right.
Like, that could make it worse.
I mean, I don't even do it now because of a friend of mine that got was it a parasite or something? Yeah. From sushi?
I know, but I love it.
I know.
But anyway, I'm being cautious about what I'm eating. But, they did remove one small polyp that he said he didn't think was a problem. And I don't have the results yet back from that. It happens soon, but exactly still.
Because I think someone say that that's early to have a polyp, right?
Yeah. Put it this way. it was also kind of funny when I'm like going and waiting to get the anesthesia, and I'm not in the like procedure room. I'm in like the waiting, you're in hospital beds, curtains though, and you're hearing the people like about to go in or that have just come out. Because, they're also coming off their anesthesia and the doctor's giving them a report. And I'm like, HIPAA. Like, everybody's hearing everybody's results.
I'm dead.
And they're like, but basically, I'm hearing everyone else's report, but I didn't hear anybody else have follow-ups around me but me. So I'm not worried. But again, it was a good reminder.
No, and it's, if anything, you're like, okay, you got an early screening,
Exactly.
and then you're going to get another screening just because you're going to be 40 in a minute.
Yeah, and it's also go to the GI when you have stomach, because in the past I've not.
I know, me too. And I think that's, not to get off on a tangent, 2-second comment, but like, yeah, I could have totally, looking back now, realizing after changing my diet because of all my health stuff, now looking back and realizing how messed up my stomach was. I'm like, I should have gone to the GI years ago.
I've gone before, honestly, and I didn't find things at the time. So it always depends, maybe where you get started, blah, blah, blah. That's another episode. But hopefully all is well. And it wasn't a big deal. And if you all remember Katie Couric back in the day, because her first husband, Jay, died of colon cancer, she then went on live television and they recorded her getting a colonoscopy to get awareness. And again, the prevalence being up with our age group, 30s, 40s, you really don't skip that appointment.
No.
And if something's weird in your shit, fucking don't wait.
Yep. Yeah. And actually, speaking of, but my friend, I'm wearing her bracelet right now. But my friend just passed of colon cancer just a few months ago, and it was really awful. So
she was amazing.
And she was amazing. So yeah. So totally.
She was young.
She was young. Yeah. She was 30,
younger than me.
What, 36? How old are you?
She was
34. 34. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But I just say that because it's like reminder, but that's what's been going on. It's been chill. But otherwise,
summertime, just enjoying
the
boats
soaking
and
in
the water and the beach,
summer,
traveling, and
we got Labor Day coming up.
Yeah,
Cease's birthday.
We're gonna be on
Virgo season.
We're gonna be on the boat. We're gonna do like a whole boat week, and
Cease and I too. We're gonna do some overnights.
Yeah, us too.
Heading to St. Mike's if you're
around.
We'll
try and take content for you guys. We'll try and take.
Content. It's a separate boating adventure, but one might call it a regatta. I'm kidding. It's not a regatta.
Tomorrow might have to be a little regatta. If everybody's coming on the boat, we might have to
have a little race.
We have to have a little regatta gala.
Fun.
But anyway,
should we get into today?
I think we should get into today's topic. Should I kick us off?
Yeah, kick us off. Let me turn this a little.
So, I don't even remember, we how we landed on this one but I think just because if it's happened to not only, Stacey and I, but then our other sister and our other friends, like I think that's how we land on topics, like when we know that they're relevant. And this
or something we've talked about too, like over the years,
impacting us, personally,
especially if it's something that comes up again.
Yeah, and this is one of those topics because it's not like this is fresh. None of my friends being like, "Oh my God, am I a Diet Coke?" No, this isn't like anything that has happened recently for me. But we were just talking about losing friends and the transition of friends in life, and that friends are here for a season, a reason, and a lifetime. And I think people do realize that because I think people do talk about this
season,
more and more.
Reason, or a lifetime.
Or a lifetime. Yeah. And I think that conversation's out there that, we all know that like friends can come and go. But I think really hearing the validation of like when that happens and why it happens and the grief that comes along with it. I feel like I haven't heard a lot because it is losing a friend is just, it can be gut wrenching.
And when we say losing a friend, we're not talking about death. It's like losing a friend because a friendship has changed.
A friendship has changed.
Or, somebody shows their ass.
Yeah.
There's a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
Reasons.
But
do you want to maybe give us a little?
That's what I was just going to say. But I was, when we were talking about this topic, I said, the one that sticks out and like sticks out the most, probably because it impacts, it's like has impacted me as far as like how our relationship has changed so dramatically. And there has been real grief with it that, a friend of mine, there wasn't even anything that really happened with them and I. It was really more friction with them and another friend of ours that almost made, because of that friction, kind of ended up trickling over to our relationship, even though I took no part in it, really.
Was it like a choosing sides?
I mean, you probably could ask one of them and say that there was sides chosen, but you
just kind of got put in the middle.
I got put in the middle of it.
That didn't involve you.
Yeah, I really had no sides to it. I just knew what both of their perspectives were, and I knew what the moment was and what had happened, and ended up just being that literally, like, we had a conversation about literally that moment, and then I just never heard from them again, other than like random texts. And this was someone that I was really close with, like. And I think, now being 40, I'm realizing, this was someone that our relationship really revolved around living in DC, being together in our 20s, and
proximity,
convenience, and really having the same convenience, but also having the same kind of, lifestyle, I guess,
sure,
not married, or
you had all the time in the world when your
but
friendship
we weren't like
started.
We didn't have kids. Yeah, we were both in a relationship, but like no kids and stuff. And exactly, and it was like, but we really enjoyed each other. I mean, we shared, like, like this was someone that I was incredibly close with, and so to lose that person, and I know this has happened for other people. It is interesting when you are processing like why it even happened. Then you're processing like, well, was our relationship ever the way I really thought it was? And then you grieve just the fact that that's over, because I don't know, maybe other people aren't like this. I think, our family certainly, it was always kind of instilled in us to like have close friendships and be social, and like we enjoyed those things.
We saw our parents, our grandparents have these very close friendships, and it wasn't that just that we saw that they had close friendships. It was we saw how they maintained them,
and they maintained
absolutely.
them.
They were family.
And it was treated, they weren't taken for granted. You showed up and all the things, and so I genuinely don't know if everyone. I think most all people have a best friend and close friends, but I don't know if all people have these really. I think a lot don't, probably, but I don't really know. I feel like we have really large groups of friends. Like,
I agree.
Like a huge list of people that I feel like we could call at the drop of a hat, and they would be there.
Right. It's not just like these people are my social circle. It's like I would call this person, and exactly you're saying, would be there. I would tell, intimate things, things about them, like that show up.
Yeah.
And I think some of it too is because we, like you're saying, the friendships that we saw, I mean, you model relationships, right? How you're a victim of your own environment, right? Of how you're raised. But we also we grew up in Maryland, we were also like in this small town, close-knit, small communities with small schools we went to. Then we, when you go to K through high school, and then you go to college, at least for me, an hour away, I went to Towson. And then, so my friendships from all these different stages of life, I always live within an hour.
Yeah.
Like I lived in DC, Baltimore, Emmitsburg, Towson. It's all right here. So I made a lot of friends. And even though people leave, you still have a lot of connections. But like you're saying, we also were lucky that the friendships our parents that we saw, those friends, the friends of our parents modeled, they reciprocated, right?
Yeah.
They mirrored the friendship. They showed up in the same way. It was two ways.
Yeah.
And so we're very lucky that some of those friends' children are now our best friends.
Yeah.
And so we have this standard. They're on the same page as us. They were like raised the same way in friendship.
True. Yeah.
And because this happened, I've had people react, and even I've had my close friends say people are shocked when they're like, wait, you've been friends how long? Wait, your friends that are coming, you've known since kindergarten? And it's not just one person. It's like there's 6 of you that you've known since like birth.
Yeah.
People are shocked by that. So that is, I mean, you think about the whole topic of loneliness now. I think it's also those genuine friendships are people don't have the model.
So interesting. Because maybe that's why I'm just wondering, I mean, I think losing a friend would hurt anyone, but I wonder too, like maybe, you know, because I even think of the other friend that was involved in this and it impacts as well. Like they're also the same as us. Like, you know, like we've known
really
them
tight,
really tight, and just like these, and really broad
giver,
groups of friends, and
giver.
give. So you know, it's almost that too. I actually haven't really even looked at that as far as like maybe helping me move on with like grief wise of like, not everybody comes from that, you know? So maybe I'm more sensitive to the friendship phases and meaning like it's sunsetting, you know, like the friendship being over. Right. Maybe I'm more sensitive than other people because that's not what they're used to. That's not what they feel like is required. And maybe I need to even take a peek at that like,
sure,
you know,
sure.
But I think but in this situation, this was ended pretty shockingly.
Yeah. And I think you're right that sometimes you have to look at the, you know, not why are they like this? What happened to them?
Yes, totally.
However, when a friendship, it's a little different when it's a friend that you've known and then you get older and you're like, oh, they're just not growing with the friendship, you know, like, don't be a dick. I have a kid now. Don't be like, oh, you never make time for me. But it's different when that kind of thing isn't happening and it's just kind of like a drop. You're like almost getting ghosted on, like, which was sort of the situation you were in.
Yeah.
And so to that, and this is just me being a little protective because of course I know the situations, is like, that's a Diet Coke friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
you're right. You're right. Because exactly. I do want to caveat that just before I forget. If like, I'm definitely not talking about, because I'm that same way too, of friends that like, even that live in the same area, we don't have time. We all have kids. We got life. We got jobs. I don't have time to call you all the time or see you all the time. But if you called me right now and you told me you needed something, I'm there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, I'm the only one of my college girlfriends. I'm the only one that doesn't have kids. I am not like, oh my God, you guys aren't like texting the group chat anymore. Like, haven't heard from you, because I'm like, y'all are doing shit. Yeah. And like, I'm I'm busy right now.
You're busy. Yeah.
You have those moments, and that's just ebbs and flows of life. But somebody that's been like,
back to your Diet Coke thing.
I'm out. And so when I say Diet Coke, one, I've got to give credit where it's due. You know, you are, Kate, for Diet Coke term. So my good friend Kate, one time I was venting to her about a friend of mine that I'm just like, I don't know the deal. Like, I invite this person, they don't come. I'm laughing at you stirring that with a pen. I have a spoon here.
Oh, you have a spoon? Damn it.
But no, I was saying this person just wasn't showing up for me. And times when I would also be celebrating, milestones for me, getting a job, a new apartment, big achievements, it was like, I'm not getting reaction. And they weren't asking, how are you in conversations? They were, So I was venting to Kate about this, and she was like, lady, that's because, they're Diet Coke.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait, what? She's like, they're not the real thing. They're Diet Coke friend.
So good. Like, did she make up that line? I mean, that is so good.
I'm going to say she has. I mean, I also used it in a wedding toast, and I gave her credit for it. Exactly. Kate, love you.
You ain't Diet Coke, girl. That
branding, you need to trademark your brands.
She's the real thing.
And I was like, oh, when she said that, I'm like, yeah, because one, I mean, using Kate as example, she's a lifelong friend,
right.
Her mom and ours are best friends. So again, that we're simpatico on what showing up means. And so my brain went to oh, you're right. I've lived away, I've lived an hour away from this person for the last 10 years of my life.
They'd always been the same.
And they won't come.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then I see them like going to concerts in my city, and then they don't let me know that they're there. And I'm like, well, whatever. You don't have to. You can have your own plans. But then it's only like, when you guys be around, like, would love to see you. But I'm like, well, here I am. The only time we can hang out is when I'm the one. And this is before kids were had. This is when nobody was even married yet. So like, there was no excuse. And so you start to have those things, and there can be a variety of reasons of why, whatever. But the Diet Coke friend, they're not the real thing. There's someone, they dupe you. That's what Diet Coke does. You're like, oh, this looks like Coke. Then you taste it and you're like, that's not Coke. I'm like, oh, that's not Coke. That is just something, that's an imitation of what I thought would be the real thing. That's something I can have because it's less calories. So I think I'm doing a good thing. But you're like, I'm not fulfilled. Just give me the real Coke. I want full sugar.
I'd rather have the real Coke once a year than that Diet Coke once a month. You know what I'm saying?
I'd rather have that real Coke every fucking week than have to deal with a Diet Coke friend.
Well, I'm saying though, you know, to that point of like your friend that you only get to see once a year, they've got kids, they move, you know what I mean? Like I'd rather have that.
Totally. That's the friend that you can pick up where you left off, that you know, okay, they're not calling as much because they're in a different time zone and they've got kids and they've got work and they're trying to make new friends here too, but that is going to be there, that would literally get on the plane or fly me to them if I needed it, versus the friend that's like,
you just haven't fucking, there's just,
I have to make effort.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, it takes effort. So that's just, anyway, that's why, and we're going to title this one Diet Coke, because you know.
You have to, it's so good.
But, and so I think that's something too, that like you were saying, as we get older, you start to we have less time, right? Like, it's funny because Kate's brother James is, you know, one of my closest friends, lifelong besties. We used to talk on the phone literally every day, middle school, high school, for like an hour. We would talk. And then like, I remember when we were our first jobs, we would try to do like once a week, Monday nights.
I was going to say, even until... Yes, you guys have always consistently where it was.
But I'm saying it went from like literally once. Then we were like, because that was just because our time, right?
Right.
Maybe we don't have kids, but we're getting off work at, you know, between 6 to 7 p.m. And then you want to eat and you want to just chill, all the things. But we also were always seeing each other in contact, all of that. You know, I have my friend Katie left in college, right? She went to go to school in Florida. We kept up. I would get on a plane. She would get on a plane. She would make it so that even when she was flying up to, you know, Maryland to see
her family,
and she had a week off of work and would be taking that time, she would fly in to BWI. She would arrange it that even if it was like she needed to go home right away and had somebody picking her up, we would go get dinner or like she made time for me. And, you know, I'll keep naming Jess, you know, I've known you since kindergarten. She's in the DMV. She's calling me. She's checking in. She's making time.
Yep.
And then, so there's a lot of things can change organically, right? Where, you know, you're not going to have the same FaceTime or connection, and that's normal. But what's not normal is when sometimes you need to kind of look inward and be like, is this serving me?
Right. Is it adding value?
What am I getting out of this? Am I maintaining something because it is something that we've had since, you know, whenever I was in elementary school or whatever, that you just feel like, oh, well, it's always been there. Like, but they're not like a bad person. It's like, you don't have to be, there's, again, situations like the situation you're talking about, that's different. It's almost like ghosting. But then sometimes you have to also create a separation or more of a
harder
definitive boundary that's like, you know, this is not a close friendship anymore.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I think I don't think you know immediately though. I think the like being ghosted is a lot easier to process and realize than the friend that you've had since high school that then is just not, you realize like over time, yeah, you're in touch, but you're like, and when we're hanging out, what are we talking about?
Well,
like, is there vulnerability? Are we being real? Or are we just fucking catching up about the fucking Joneses down the street? Like, I don't care.
And when you like analyze the time that we spent together or the conversations we had, and you're like, especially like you're saying, for me, everyone's different, but like if you're not going to be vulnerable with me, that's not a friendship. Like, I've got coworkers that are more vulnerable with me than some people that are my closer friends. And I'm like, guys, come on, let's do a little bit better here.
Well, and the thing is too, I mean, just the older you get, the busier you get. So whether it's, you know, kids, or you have your parents are getting older, and so you're, you know, putting more time in there, whether they need help because they're getting older, or you're just realizing like, oh, they're getting older, I want to spend more time with those people then, and you know, you just have less time. And when you realize, I think the older you get, the less and less time you're going to spend on friends. And so that's when then you're assessing whether almost because not by choice, but because you're forced into it.
Yeah.
Like, wait a second. And then you do realize,
right,
wow, yeah, I don't know if I really need to still be that connected to this person. And I'm not saying at all that you need to have a formal conversation of like, you and I are no longer friends. But if maybe just put less effort in. If they're not putting any effort in, then why don't you, you know, if you realize, if you stop, you know, checking in when you're in town, or texting every now and then, if you stop that and there's really no connection left.
Right. You're like, what are we, this isn't, you know, that's not a friendship. And I think like you're saying too, that like when it's a friendship that you've had for a long time, and you, of course, you feel like you've invested time in it, right? But it's less of the investment. It's more of like, oh, well, you have memories. You're like, well, we have happy memories. It's like, that's fine. I have happy memories with people where it just organically over time, especially like, you know, there are just like high school. So many times we would joke about like senior week, when all the seniors go to the beach, and how even at senior week, you've just graduated high school, and every time there's a senior week, somebody makes a new best friend that we're like, well, wish we hung out in high school more. You know, oh, they got close friends for that week. It's like things can change. And you also sometimes have to realize it's what was given to you.
Yeah.
You guys have that, especially I think for friendships that were like those high school years, college, I would say high school more, maybe even a little middle school. They're so formidable that it seems so deep, you know, but it's 4 years. And like, if you think of, and I'm just speaking of us,
interesting,
right? Like we went to school, Morgan and I went to school K through 8 at the same school. Like it was a private school that was K through 8. So we had friends, you know, like 2 of my girlfriends, Barbie and Jess, love you girls, I've known since kindergarten. And, you know, made those friendships on my own without obviously being a family friend or whatever. And we've maintained that friendship when we didn't go to the same high schools. We didn't live in the same neighboring towns. We didn't live in the same colleges. And we've chosen to stay connected. You know, they give same thing. They give what I give. Then, but we also had very foundational. That's 9 years of our lives we were together.
That's a lot of time.
And versus that 4, when you're in high school, you go through these new stages. You're, you know, it's the boyfriend stuff. It's the new friendships. It's the prom. It's the dances, the sports teams. And, you know, more of that, you feel like you're an adult. The parties, that social, those memories. It seems so like there's like impact there because it's formidable, but you're like, if I took everyone over the course of my life that I was put to be in a situation with, like every person I had to be in that school classroom with, you know, let's do K through college, I have more options.
Yeah.
And it's okay to meet people that then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually way more aligned with and get than like when I go to college and I meet my girlfriends from college and I'm like, oh my God, I'm choosing now. It's like a relationship. Yeah. I'm choosing the people that have values like me, that show up like me, that are, you know, I want those things. And so I think that's harder, just some of those years to like see when it dwindles. And I say that just too, because I'm thinking of other people I know that are like, my one, like people that I have told me, my friend from high school who, da, da, da. It tends to kind of be that time of life. People I think have a harder time letting go of if they've been through it together. And I also think, like you're saying, easier, just like a breakup, easier if somebody's ghosting, easier if a guy's an asshole for you to be like, fuck it, I'm not talking to him. But when it kind of organically are like, this isn't serving me.
Yeah, when they're not doing anything specific, like the ghosting thing, like I said, like the ghosting thing was obvious in a moment it happened and there was a thing, but just that natural, like we're, kind of just our personalities are growing apart. Not we are deciding to grow apart,
right,
but like who we become
and
as
it's
we
okay.
get older. Right?
And I felt like in a situation when I was in one of those where it wasn't like it was a breakup. It was just an organic, like then I had to draw more of wasn't even a line. I had to just stand up for me because it wasn't serving me, and it just wasn't serving me, and it had changed. Life has changed. We've changed. I have grown, and I felt like the friendship wasn't growing. And that's okay. That you'll see that happen, right? And I think that's something too people don't talk about as much. It's not a relationship. Everybody focuses on sexual, romantic relationships as to like learn these lessons. But I think something that I have, you start to also, everybody can probably think about a person in their lives, right? Where you're like, I gave it a pass. Okay, well, they did this thing. I gave it a pass, gave it a pass. Life is going to keep giving you that lesson until you learn it. So if you're going to keep allowing someone to either, because there are the friends too, where it's more obvious, where like, why do you let your friend talk shit about you so much? Why are you always the brunt of the joke? Why are they putting you down? That's your friend.
Right.
Friends are a choice. It's extra. It should be extra added value and happiness in your life. It shouldn't be stressful. If I want drama, I'll go to work. If I want calm, I'll go to my friends. If the relationship isn't giving me that, it's okay to step away. And like you were saying, I think it's harder for empaths too. You're like, well, they're not a bad person. You don't have to like be someone that did like this direct mean thing to you and your family just for it to be like, again, it's okay for you to not be, you're spending too much emotional time too on your loop. Everybody knows what I mean when you're like, I'm thinking about this thing. Like, why did this happen? I'm not getting closure.
Yeah. What's interesting too with thinking of, the empaths and feeling like almost like guilty, or just anyone I think that's having just trouble, which I can understand, here I am talking about it, trouble like moving on or accepting the new level of friendship is, you are taking up even just that energy of thinking about it, talking about it. You're taking away space that you could be putting into a new friendship. And I think what I want to emphasize too is like, like your comment about high school friends and people do oftentimes like, even it's funny, Alex Cooper, like, what were you like in high school? Which I understand what she's doing there. But even that I think makes us think of like, yes, they're formidable years, but it is just a moment in time. And I have some of my amazing lifelong friends are from high school. And, I know I'll always be close to them because we've made a choice. And it's also funny too, because it's a small town. We definitely kind of knew each other before high school too. Right. So that kind of changes it. But the other piece is just the guilt of it. And I think that energy, that gets, trapped in just thinking about how to fix the friendship or that you've lost the friendship takes you away from new friendships. That's time and energy. Again, like all of these things, whether it's you are physically, sitting down to work, or you have to think of the list of things that you need to do before, your kid starts school, or all of this takes time and energy. And rather than thinking about that relationship that, maybe you just need to accept is now in a new space, you're not making that friend with the person that maybe lives right in your town.
Yeah.
Or because I think that's part of it with me is I love making new friends. I mean, some of my deepest, closest friendships I've made in the last 5 years.
Which is, keep going. I don't want to.
Because, and I say that because, and for people to think like, oh, well, you probably changed and all this stuff. No, I am just always, and I think I saw that really through, especially through grandma and grandpa, our mom's side, the fact that they always moved.
Yeah,
you know?
they were
And
military.
So they were always in these different places. And so even though they ended up, they were just always open to and receiving new friendships because they understood that sometimes that is required.
Yeah, community.
And so just growing up that way and always realizing, and my communities have shifted, you know, I've lived, unlike you, I've lived in Pittsburgh and Hawaii and then moved to Annapolis on my own. And you might think Annapolis, right, and DC, and you might think, and I lived in DC before Lindsay lived in DC. You know, she was there, but she was in Arlington. I would walk around the city by myself. You know, so I've been in these moments many times where I was in a new area without friends. And I had learned that as a kid from our grandparents that like, if you don't open yourself up to new friendships, then you're really limiting yourself. And I have some deeply beautiful friendships from people that I've gotten close with really in the last, 5 years.
It's so interesting, your perspective or, on the, I love making new friends. Cause I remember I've said this before recently, like within the last 6 months, randomly we were talking about this or it came up and I said something like, I don't need new friends, like no new friends or something. And you were like, well, no, like everybody needs new friends and my thing is, and so like Morgan was saying how our grandparents moved all over. Our grandmother was like a fierce communicator and, would be writing letters to people that she saw like hadn't seen in 20 years and keeping up with folks. I saw that example and I honestly, I've said this before, I have like a fear of not including others, right? And so Morgan and I we have these large groups of friends and some of those friend groups overlap. And I think, especially in my 20s, when you're balancing that, again, newness of now I'm working, I'm not living here, there's a little bit of guilt, right? When you start to let in some of those new friends and you're hanging out all the time of those friends that are still in the proximity, 30 minutes away in Baltimore train ride or whatever in Frederick, where I'm like, I don't know if I have it on I don't know if I have the bandwidth to maintain this new friendship in the way that I've seen it, like the communicating and because I also in my brain always have this, like, if people like inviting me to a wedding, if you haven't so much as called me within a year or text, if we haven't communicated at all within a year, it's weird. You're inviting me to your wedding.
So bizarre.
Especially if you haven't seen me for like 10 years and you invite me to your wedding. I'm like, what's happening?
Well, but here's the thing that we need to make. This is probably a whole other subject, but as a quick aside to that, you have to understand who's inviting you. Yes, I think it's weird because that's just not how I am. But that person, you lost touch. They've probably lost touch with other people.
They are considering still me to be a close friend to them when I've been like,
limited friends.
You're gone.
Right. And they're trying, they, I hate to say it, like you kind of feel like you need someone at your wedding.
Well,
and that happens too. And that's a lesson right here where look, again, the older you get, the more that you understand. I'm 40. I'm seeing the marriages end. I'm seeing
it's kind of
crazy. when you end up putting yourself in a situation where all you have is really your partner, whether it is, and I talk about divorces, I talk about deaths too.
We need a whole separate episode for this one.
When I see deaths that have happened to people in my friend group. I've seen of their partners.
Yep.
I've seen, like I said, just these divorces happen and you don't have your friends because that's what's going to carry you through.
Yeah.
Your friends are going to be the ones to pick you up when you should never rely on. And we've also seen, last thing I'll say is and again, this is a whole other topic, but just a quick aside, we've also seen really sad, folks go through complete, deep mental shifts that then a divorce has to happen. And I think of that friend that if they had only been reliant on that partner, 2 different friends I can immediately think of, if they had only relied on that partner and didn't have their other friends to pick them up and move them on, where would you be? You never know what's going to happen.
You don't. And so like you're saying, that's where, like for me, where I was a little bit like, oh my God, I don't know if I can take this on. More friends. I'm already inviting everybody. I'm already making sure I'm checking in. I'm already trying to I literally on my personal to-do list, there's always on there, call so-and-so. It's not about anything other than just I got to check in with him or her. And I think, to your point about you love making friends, we do need friends. We need community for so many reasons. And then, of course, we're talking about how we saw this example of friendship from our parents and our grandparents. I mean, our grandpa, too, was a great, you want to talk about positive masculinity friendships. They had such a great friend group and didn't just maintain them, but they were like family. And you really, you need people.
Yeah. And we would see, as another quick aside, we would see the balance of the friendship helping the marriages.
Yes.
I think about Aunt Pat and Uncle Jack.
Boring when you're
well, not only boring, but I think about, we've all got our shit personality wise. And, we think marriage is supposed to just be this perfect, easy thing. When you're talking about 2 people, I don't care who you are, we're sisters. We'd have a hard time living together, and then you put these 2 people together and you expect it to be easy breezy. And I have just seen from my grandparents and my parents and us that those friendships can often bring you back to reality with the person that you're with. When I think of literally, it's an easy one to talk about because, they've both passed. But Uncle Jack and Grandpa could be the best, and also, God, he could be a little jackass at times. And, you could see Uncle Jack snap him back to reality.
Someone else to put in check that's not just the wife at the party.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, we see the same things that happen, the balance and the real, appreciation that I see Joe Donahue have of the other sisters,
I was going to say it's cute to see in our family dynamic, sibling, spouse, brothers, brother-in-laws dynamic where, yes, sisters wise, we do it too, but the guys, now, I mean, Cease and Donahue are fishing with Angel but there are times too when even things that maybe Cease and I will say or do, if we're noticing you having a moment, he will say, all right, reset.
Yes. And
we'll be and it is also that you're my sister, I can call you, but I
would do the same thing in front of Elise.
Exactly.
Warren.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And you also can go sometimes to that friend, and Cease isn't an idiot. He knows I do it.
Yeah.
And I'll call War and be like,
it's known that we vent to each other to help each other.
Yeah. And we know that from the other episode we did about, oh my God, I don't remember what it was. I'm blanking on the title right now. We talk about friendships of the opposite sex.
Oh, yeah.
But in that, we talk about the value of friendships. Yeah, but there's so many times where it's thank God I talked to War about this.
Yes.
Because then Cease would be hearing about something that it's saving me. It's not about saving Cease. It's saving both of us. Or, War being I'm telling you, just wait on this thing. Not even when it's a fight.
Right, it's or someone telling you it's not that big a deal.
But it's when it's also me being I want this thing right now, and it's not, and Joe's not on board, and he's let it be his idea. And then I'm I want instant results. I want this right now. Let it be his idea. He'll get on board, and then yada yada yada. We buy a house later. Give it 2 weeks. We're in Annapolis.
But yeah, no, and that so we went off on that aside, but I think it's really true with. Why, again, you need friendships. They are valuable. Don't become that person that all of a sudden, if you were getting married tomorrow, whether you're married or not, and you realize oh my God, I don't know who I put on my guest list.
Yeah.
It's never too late to start making friends. I'm telling you, there's people all around you, and you don't have to be an extrovert. You know what I think's hilarious? This whole conversation of, are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? I'm like, dude, it's a spectrum. Yeah. I'm introverted after, I've been drained from work all day. I hear everybody, people that are shocked all the time, like, oh, so-and-so said they're an introvert. I'm an introvert. I'm so shocked. It's like, well, yeah, because we all live in those moments where we feel one or the other. You don't need to be the person that always wants to host the party to make a new fucking friend.
I will say that too. And I think that's the other part. Like we were talking about the connectors. We also grew up with grandparents that were hosts. And we talked about that within the episode of platonic friendships, friends of the opposite sex, where a lot of times just that typical mental load, the societal stuff of the woman gets put on the woman. But like in a friendship, it's like, even if you were used to having the friend that was the organizer, the outreach person, whatever, like you're saying, more stuff in my life has been, I'm telling you, I am that person, okay? I'm the event coordinator. I get people together. I rally. I like to host, whatever. Happy to have that role. But like as more things happen and I have to take on in my life, even without having kids, it's still like, well, I would love to see you guys too. But like if I don't do it, it's not happening. Well, you can reach out to.
Oh, absolutely.
You can plan the event. You can get the checks change started. And so it takes effort. But I think maybe we should we talked about, the grief and how it is. It's a loss.
It is.
So I think that was one thing too. My therapist told me during a time where I was like, this isn't serving me. And she was like, what are you doing here? When I kind of told her the situation of the friendship. And she was like, okay, you don't need permission. But if you need that, if you literally need permission to help you with the next step, here's permission. This is not serving you, clearly. And then from there, she was like, it's okay to feel like this is a loss or to have to kind of go through some grieving, just like you would a relationship. It's like somebody dumps you and you didn't see it coming and you're like, I was in love with that person. It doesn't feel good. It hurts. You do feel bad. So like, do go through those stages. But I also want to say it doesn't have to be. It's also like using the romantic relationship. I always say there's nothing worse than not being given a chance to try. So in the situations where Morgan and I are talking about our personal experiences, clearly we're on this pod telling our lives, like we're vulnerable people. We didn't just let it go from shit and then, become shit and then be like, fuck it. I don't even care. I don't know what's going on. Sometimes you do have to be the person, even if you're like, I know this person has wronged me. Something's off. Something's weird. You do have to kind of reach out. Somebody does have to fall on the sword a little bit and say like, hey, what's going on? This is how I feel. Are you okay? Once you've done all those things, and it can be hard because it's up to you, the person that feels wronged, to decide, reverse. If you're the person that's being like, let's call it the shitty friend that's not showing up, it's not up to you. If you're deciding like, oh, I miss that person, I want them back, it's just like a breakup. You break up with somebody and you're like, I want to go on a break. If that person says, if you go back to that girl, the girl that you broke up with, and then you're like, I think I made a mistake. It's like, you have to really sit with it that they may never take you back. So if you also are having a moment right now, if you feel so strongly that you're going to ghost on a friend, understand they have a really good reason to never let you back. But also understand that we're all humans. And sometimes, like you were saying, the friend that went to like the mental break or whatever, if you want the friendship back, you have to also be willing to listen to what are the terms of the friendship's never going to be the same. You have to also agree with that. Like, no, we're never going to get back to here, but maybe, I'll invite you to the parties again. But you have to be able to like reset, put in like what is new. It's never going to be back to what it was. It's just like a breakup. If somebody's cheated on you, you're never going to have the trust you had in the 10 years where everything was happy and hunky-dory.
Right. Totally. I know. So to your point, it's like, kind of think before you do, think before you make that leap of like, I'm not putting time in. But yeah, I don't know. And I think sometimes too, it's like there could be, you know, there could be jealousy from one of the folks that is making them be like, I just, you know, I really don't want to necessarily be around the person they're jealous of or the person that they're really.
I think especially depending on when the friendship started, if you're seeing somebody stages of life
really move forward.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, perfect example. I'm not saying this was what, you know, my situation was, but this is a hypothetical of like you meet in your 20s, one person gets married, has a kid, and, you know, now you're all 40 and one person, whether they decided to or not, isn't doing those things. And maybe they always wanted them, you know, not saying that the one's right or wrong, but maybe one always really wanted that lifestyle, or maybe it's the other way around. The person that got married and had the kids is like, I'm in hell.
Yeah.
They made the wrong choices.
Yeah. When you're jealous, a jealous friend is never a good friend to have.
Exactly. And so that's my point. Whether for whatever reason, if they're jealous, it was like never a good, it's okay to like envy what someone has, you know, and be like, oh, I do want to have that marriage. I do want to have that kid. And maybe you can't always, like, truthfully, it honestly reminds me of the moments I need to take sometimes when, you know, someone gets pregnant with their second kid. I'm not saying I'm not friends with that person anymore, but do I want, you know, when I hear that they had their second baby, is my immediate reaction, just because I'm not a fake person, do I get on the phone and give them a call and say how excited I am when I'm not really excited because of my own grief, you know, because I can't do that? You know, that's okay too. But if you can't get beyond that, because if you can't celebrate that person's win, what would be fucked up if I was unable to say, after I'd had my moments of my own sorrow for my own, you know, lack thereof ability, and then I can't, you know, pick up the phone and call you and say I'm excited or send you that gift, baby gift or whatever. Well, then I've got some things I need to work on, because if you can't celebrate somebody that you apparently love, then what's wrong with you?
Yeah. It's like look inward.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good place, honestly, to wrap things. And like you were saying earlier, it was funny because I saw a meme this week or something on Instagram that was like, you know, if they say it takes a village when you're raising a kid, why do people think that needs to stop once you're an adult?
Exactly.
Like, it does take a village.
Exactly.
It takes, like you were saying, your partner can't be your everything. You know, the one friend can't be everything. Your mom can't be everything. Your dad can't be everything. It's like, but also if someone, everybody has their shit. Everybody's going through something.
Yep.
And isn't it better to have a bunch of people around you lift you up? You shouldn't have to wait to that tragic thing, you know, to recognize that you wish you had maintained friendships or done a better job of nourishing them. And it shouldn't take that bad or tragic event, or even maybe a happy one where you're like, I don't have anybody to invite to my wedding, or I don't have anybody on my baby shower list.
Yeah.
To know that, like, we need community.
Yep.
But keep being the real ones, keep being the real thing
Yep.
to the friends that you have. And if you're hearing this and you're like, man, I'm Diet Coke, check yourself before you wreck the relationship or the friendship without even trying, just because you're like not showing up.
Yeah. And if you're Diet Coke, I would recommend you sit down and see a therapist. I'm not even kidding.
Seriously.
Why
Seriously.
is that?
If you're jealous of your friend, and honestly, you don't need to tell anybody, clearly, like, everybody can answer that. You can be honest when you're jealous of something. We all have those moments where you're like, well, for a second I was jealous. I said that when I was like annoyed my friend, when War moved to Annapolis at first, I told him, I was like reacting genuinely. I was happy for you, but I was also like jealous because I want to live there too.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah.
That's healthy. And if you have those thoughts and you can't admit it, go see a therapist.
Just sit down.
All
It's
right.
okay. It's healthy.
Well,
love you.
love you. Thank you for listening. And try to, most of you are listening. We all know you've all reviewed us already if you've watched more than one episode. But if you could share this episode with 1 to 2 friends, we would be forever grateful. And that's it.
Yeah.
Keep listening.
Keep listening. Keep
sharing.
reviewing.
Let us know what you want to talk about, what you want to hear about, and what you want to see on the socials. So,
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, y'all.
See you soon.
Do it for the story.
Divas. Dips.